Welcome back to RGR Football. It is Sunday. We're recording this a little bit early because I know you guys are primed for the fact that there's dudes with helmets on again, and had to have Matt Derrick in here for his perspective. How are you, Matt?
I'm hanging in there, Ryan. Hanging in there. I mean, it's all happening now.
You haven't had to make too much of a trek yet, but it's coming, right?
It is coming. The miles are going to be added on here in the next couple of weeks.
When you guys need information, hit ChiefsDigest.com for all of Matt's information. He's going to see it firsthand. I am not. So it's going to be interesting. There's a ton of little storylines right now, and I'm really intrigued by who shows up, who hits the ground running, who is able to really seize their opportunity right now, because I think there's a lot of opportunity. For a team that's coming off of 2 Super Bowls, it seems like there's a lot of opportunity on this roster right now. On both sides of the ball, in some, I think, frankly, surprising places like the wide receiver group. Like, I think a lot of things are still up in the air, no matter how much we like these players. What would be like your biggest thing to watch? Where's the surprise coming from?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, because you're right. I mean, hey, yeah, there's easy solutions. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback. Okay, that's not going to be a surprise. But you're right. I mean, there's probably 4 positions in offense, at least starters, that are up for grabs. There's probably not that many starting positions on the defensive side, but, what role is Dan Sorensen going to be playing this year? I mean, that's, to me, huge, because that also plays into then what you can do with Tyrann Mathieu. I'm also curious about how the Chiefs are using L'Jarius Sneed, because, Steve Spagnuolo was kind of cagey, during the offseason about, kind of what the plan was for Sneed. And, the impression from OTAs, honestly, was that, Sneed could be ready to take on multiple roles, that he could be the inside guy, he could be the outside guy. I mean, he's going to be a starter, but its question is just going to be, what's his role going to be? And really curious, to see, if the Chiefs from day one in camp are ready to say, okay, Sneed's going to start outside, he's going to be the slot when we need him to move inside. I mean, that's a lot of moving around, a lot of different roles for a young player to play, but I think they want to test him and see what he can do. Mm-hmm. And offensive side, you're right. Outside, after Tyreek Hill, honestly, that's an open competition for how that depth chart is going to, break out. And there's a lot of guys. Sure, there's going to be some common household names in there, but there's going to be some guys that you don't know as well that are going to be competing for roster spots.
I'm particularly interested with Sneed. Like, what's your gut tell you? Is it outside and then he in nickel and 3 CB sets he moves inside? Is that what you're feeling?
That's my gut, is that, yeah, he is going to be outside, probably right side, and then kick inside when they do to go to multiple, corner sets. Really, the interesting to me, the other part of it too is going to be, is he a potential guy who can travel? Are they ready for him at this point to just simply be, hey, Sneed, we're going to put you on the best receiver the other team's got, and you're just going to follow him around wherever he lines up? I can't rule that out. I don't know if he's ready for that yet. I think the Chiefs want to see if he can play the inside-outside role right now. Asking to be a travel guy this early is a big ask, but does he have the potential for it? Yeah, I think he does.
Steve, I vote yes. I think he's ready. The question for me is, if you're going to travel your number 1 corner, you got to travel your second, and that's where the problem comes in for me. It seems to me that if it's Ward that's running second, you can't really do it and get away with it much more than just going outside to the nickel and back and forth, right? If Ward misses any time, if he comes up with an ankle twist and misses 2 games, maybe that's when they experiment, because I would think Fenton would be the guy on the outside on the other side, and then you bring in whoever's best apt to handle the nickel. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And your injury scenario right there is exactly, kind of worst case scenario for what the Chiefs are feeling at corner right now, because honestly, I think there's a line right now, at least as far as reps go and preparation goes, between the top 3, and I put Fenton as being that number 3 guy right now, and the rest of the group. Mike Hughes got a lot of opportunities in OTAs, and and he was still kind of feeling his way through. We are going to need to see, really early on in camp, where he's fitting into that rotation, and if the Chiefs are comfortable with him, being right there next to that group, that if he's the guy that, somebody sprains an ankle, Ward goes down, because, hey, Ward has, had some injury problems the last couple of years. If he misses a game or two, is Hughes ready to step in there? I mean, they're going to have to test him immediately off the bat. And, I talked about Baker. I mean, Baker, once again, I mean, has not been a full go yet. And I think there's some questions about just how quickly he can be a full go. After that, yeah, you've really started to get some question marks. I mean, that's why, we talked about it earlier on the pod. I mean, I think that's still a position the Chiefs are going to be looking to try and shore up when they get closer to the waiver wire and as camp goes on.
Yeah, I mean, attrition is a real thing. It's going to be very rare to have everyone play, or anybody in that secondary play, a full 17 game slate. I think so far we're so hungry for the season to begin to see guys out on the field again. We forget that an extra 4 quarters is a serious addition that not only puts more pressure on you to take care of yourself during the season, but for those guys that get hurt late, like Willie Gay did last year, like Juan Thornhill did the year before, that sets up a lack of exposure to the postseason run. And I think that's probably right now where if one in particular can't get out there right away, I think that's all right because you want them later in the season. And that brings me to my question for you. Of the second-year players, the guys that we talked about on the podcast this week that are really like the second rookie class, at least for training camp, who do you think, in terms of positionally right now, is in the best position to take a big step forward, given that Snead has already really outplayed expectations, in my opinion?
Yeah, I mean, clearly if you're the Chiefs, you need Willie Gay to step up and be ready to be your number 2 linebacker. I mean, I know Chiefs fans hear that and they say, no, we want Willie Gay to be the number 1 linebacker. Yeah, I get that. I mean, but he's going to be off-ball guy. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, he's not going to be the Mike guy. I mean, that's what Anthony Hitchens is there for. It's what Ben Neiman's there for. It's what they're grooming Nick Bolton to be in the future. But you really need Willie Gay to step up and to be that number 2 guy out there that is making plays consistently and not making mistakes. But most of all, can just take on a full workload. I mean, you need him to be an every down backer and not just a rotational piece. I mean, I think that's going to be a big key to, if this defense can improve on last year. I mean, Willie Gay is a huge part of it because you just need to get better play out of that linebacker position. And your best opportunity for that is for Willie Gay to be the guy. Mike Dana is a really interesting piece to me because, especially just because, hey, you know what? You've got some questions at that defensive end position. I mean, you got Chris Jones making the transition. We've talked about Frank Clark and his problems and what that could mean. You brought in some competition with Joshua Kaindoh, but, Dana's got a year in the system. I mean, he's got an opportunity to take some reps. And I'm really interested to see, how much of development he's been able to put on from last year. You're right. I mean, we talked about it before too. I mean, this is almost 1.5 season for a lot of these rookies because they missed so much development time last year without training camp, without an off-season program. So far, everything that this rookie class has done is something they haven't done. Or last year's rookie class, everything they've done this year in this offseason is something they didn't do last year. Mm-hmm. So even the beginning of training camp, I mean, and going to St. Joe is going to be completely different for them. So, yeah, I'm really interested to see what kind of steps forward. I mean, we glossed over even Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I mean, that's the guy that you're just expecting that he's going to be better than he was a year ago. And I think he will be. But curious how the Chiefs are going to use him. I mean, especially with the offensive line that they have built, really curious to see how that's going to affect Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the run game.
Yeah, the only reason I didn't list him and Snead is because they both, I think, played up to or over expectations. So It's more of an incremental process for them. It's not as such a huge leap. But you do bring me to the offensive side of the ball. Right now, there's questions. We know where they are. Let me ask you it this way. What do you think, which position do you think is going to surprise us come week 1?
I think the easy bet is probably receiver.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, it depends on what your expectations are. I mean, if your expectation is that Blake Bell is going to be the number 2 tight end behind Travis Kelce, you know what? I would be willing to put my chips in that Noah Gray is going to be getting more snaps than Blake Bell. I mean, maybe not week 1, but I think over the whole of this season, I think Blake Bell or the Noah Gray is probably going to be the number 2 tight end. Receiver, I could see there being some shakeups there. I mean, like I said, after Tyreek Hill, you got a lot of guys that, Chiefs believe in, but at the same time, haven't taken the big step to prove it. I mean, McCole Hardman needs to do that. Demarcus Robinson's had a lot of opportunities, but just hasn't broken through. Byron Pringle, they believe in for the world, but needs to take that next step to get to the next level. And and the thing is that when you got a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, I mean, we've seen it at other places. You've seen it with Aaron Rodgers. You've seen it with Peyton Manning. Those quarterbacks can make good receivers great and great receivers legends. So there could be receivers that you're just not thinking about that the Chiefs could get a lot of productivity from simply because they developed some chemistry with Mahomes. They work at it. They're doing the right things. And then that can beat out. I mean, that, hard work and knowing what your job is and doing it right can trump talent. I mean, especially that position, and especially when you got a quarterback like Mahomes.
I'm looking at you, 82. That's the way it's going.
There you go. Set that up for you, didn't I?
Yeah, that was perfect. I'll just knock it out every time. Folks, ChiefsDigest.com is where you need to go to get the inside information. Thanks for the time, Matt.
As always, Ryan. Take care.
Folks, we'll catch you next time. We'll have the Q&A on Monday night. Thanks for watching this. We'll see you then.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR